Hey guys, it's GirlGotGame, and welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore, where we are going to do Chevalier, or the former Rumpel's the continuation of his route, bleh, I should say. So, I'm on the start screen because I have a couple of things I want to say. So, I was going through my gallery stuff, and there's an achievement thing. And one of the achievements is to get an end without the right choice indicator. So, that was in the first game too. So I've turned it off for Chevalier's route. So I'm going in blind. And the second thing I want to say is, some of you may remember, but if you don't, or if you've forgotten, if you don't know, or if you've forgotten, I should say. Man, English. I'm good at English and words. What I was going to say is that you may remember that when I played the original Cinderella Phenomenon, I got sick during Rumpel's route, which was really ironic because he's a doctor. And Lucette got sick during his route, so I was sick. Then I played Lockhart, and during Soul's route, I got sick. And he got sick during his route. So I'm just saying, if I get sick during this route, I'm calling shenanigans on Daisuke, because they have the power to make me sick with their games. So I want you to send me all the cough drops and like honey tea and whatever other cold warding medication you can think of, because I don't want to get sick again. Gosh darn. Alright. There we go. I got through my spiel. Well, just about. I got one more thing. Where's my sticky note? Sticky. Okay. So a quick recap about Rumpel's route. So we had a witch uprising instead of Alcaster being at the forefront because he got killed, I think, off screen. This was the first time we had Waltz the Big during the base game. Parfait was killed by Mithros. And because of that, Mithros was killed by Chevalier, quite shockingly. Varg is missing, and Lucette was being trained by Waltz and Delora since Parfait had died, and all the Fairytale Curses had been broken by the end of Rumpel's route. So, there you go. That was the state of the world when we last left it. I'm expecting a lot more involvement with Cinna this time around, which should be fun. We haven't really had a lot of interaction with Cinna yet, so I'm assuming this will be our first big event that we're going to have with him, for lack of a better word. Right, that's Rod. There we go. Their colors are so similar, I forget which one is Chevalier. Okay. Chevalier, let's go. Our flirtatious doctor. The Lucis Bearer. Alright, we're just going to hop right into Cinna. Sounds wrong, but here we go. Parfait, maybe? A memory about Parfait?
Lucette.
A voice reaches out to me from the depths of my mind, soft and gentle. Though I have not heard it in years, I recognize it immediately. Oh, dang, really? Now, I don't think Mother came back. We didn't have Mother come back in Rumpel's route, but we may have learned that Mithros was keeping Lucette around to release her. I can't remember that specifically, but Mother for sure didn't come back. Mother? Oh dang! It's Hilda in the house! You haven't changed. You haven't aged a day since we last saw you.
Ah, my dearest heart. Mother!
I rush toward her, but Mother steps away from me before I can touch her.
I came to see how the traitor was doing, but it seems you are still just as incompetent as when I left you. Mother,
A strand of electricity snakes up my arm, breaking apart the rest of my words. I collapse to my knees with a cry of pain.
What a disappointment you are, Lucette. Had you revived me, you would not be so weak. Angielle would not be so weak. You are a pathetic ruler, daughter. Mother. And you are a failure as a witch.
The sparks return the moment the words leave her mouth. This time, the electricity envelops my whole body, making the world shimmer dangerously. Tears gather in my eyes.
Mother, please, I'm trying my best. You will fail, dearest heart, because you do not know what it means to be a witch. We feed off negativity and chaos. Love serves us no power. You will see that in time. And when that happens, my love...
A sardonic smile touches her lips as she fades away.
Remember that I will not be there for you.
I awake with my heart pounding erratically in my ears. That's a hell of a way to start this.
Mother.
I press a hand to my forehead and squeeze my eyes shut. A tendril of electricity snaps across my fingers, and I am only able to will it away after calming my heart. When I open my eyes, it is not darkness I see, but my own room. It was just a dream. I quiet my breathing as I glance around. Everything is exactly as it always is, except for one thing. My gaze snags on a figure silhouetted in moonlight. He is hunched over a table, papers scattered around him. Chev? She calls him Chev. Oh no, I'm already melting. I stand and make my way over to him. Aw, it's a sleepy boy. Aw. Chevalier has fallen asleep on my table with an arm folded beneath his head. At least this time he remembered to take off his glasses. The last time Chevalier fell asleep writing letters, he crushed his glasses. I notice he's been drifting off more frequently at this desk ever since he moved into the palace. It's only been a few weeks since he accepted my father's invitation to become the palace's official physician, but he is already so stressed. My boy, no. I reach out to touch his shoulder, but then pause. As much as I would like to have him come to bed, he might not be able to fall back asleep once I wake him. I suppress a laugh. Chevalier is not even supposed to be in my room this late, but he really does accidentally drift off here. Oh boy. Well, if we wake him, he'll be worried, because he's a doctor. And he might even leave, because he's like, I'm not supposed to be in here. Well, if he's been stressed with the move, I say let him sleep. I know Chevalier. He has a tendency to worry. If I wake him, he will be unable to fall asleep again. Yeah, that's kind of what I was afraid of. I also just remembered I don't have any crystals this time, so, YOLO, I guess. I would rather he rest. He needs it. I pull my hand away and make my way back to my bed. I pause briefly to glance at the gardens and the city beyond them. The moonlight settles on Angielle like a blanket, making all the buildings glimmer faintly like stars. Somewhere in the sprawling town is the Marchen, where Delora and Cinna sleep under one roof. I'm sure Delora's having fun with that. Cinna is Parfait's only cousin and the only possible heir to the Lucis. Apparently, Parfait was keeping his identity secret because she did not want to place the burden of bearer on him at so young an age. None of us knew of his existence until he showed up at the Marchen's doorstep one day, insistent that he be allowed to stay so he could take over Parfait's duties. Ever since Cinna moved to Angielle, I have been having more nightmares than Mother. I wonder if this has anything to do with the imbalance between the Tenebrarum and Lucis. Interesting. So she didn't have any nightmares of Mother while Parfait was still the bearer. Great. I'm gonna have to learn to get along with Cinna. I guess we gotta balance these crystals out, because that does make sense. I'm assuming Parfait would have done everything she could to work along with Lucette those 2 years. Cinna's kind of a different kettle of fish. My closeness with the Tenebrarum, which is the crystalline that balances the darkness of this kingdom, makes me more prone to nightmares. They have decreased over the years, thankfully, but for some reason this week has been difficult. I sigh as I fall back on my bed, my fingers moving to the bridge of my nose as I try to brush aside the nightmare. Maybe I should go for a walk. I leave the room quietly so as not to disturb Chevalier. I am only out long enough to clear my mind. When I return, I am finally able to fall asleep. The first thing I notice when I wake in the morning is Chevalier, who is seated at my desk sealing envelopes. I rub my bleary eyes as I sit up in bed and yawn. Chevalier turns with a smile.
Good morning, my sweet princess.
I notice that his eyes are glimmering. He looks more lively than I have seen him in many, many days. Well, hopefully the sleep did him good. Good morning. You look well rested.
Oh, but I am. Your table is very comfy, Lucette.
The bed is a lot more comfortable, you know.
A valid point. I certainly prefer waking to the sight of your beautiful eyes, bright as the most precious gold.
Nice Rumpelstiltskin reference. If that is the case, you should make a greater effort to pass out on the bed.
But I'm not even supposed to fall asleep in your room, am I?
And yet you do so anyway. If you insist on staying, you ought to at least sleep on the bed. Father ought to have reprimanded me by now. The fact that he has not means he obviously does not care that much about Chevalier being in here. Interesting.
Then I will try my best for you, sweet princess.
He leans back in his chair, arms crossed.
I hope you don't mind my saying, but you seem a little groggy this morning?
As always, he is able to read me so easily. A nightmare kept me up last night.
A nightmare? Lucette, you should have woken me.
It was just a nightmare, Chev. I did not want to disturb you for such a small thing.
Your consideration warms my heart. But still, was this another Tenebrarum nightmare?
I don't think so. It is hard to say. It seemed more vivid than the usual nightmares. I spend the next minutes detailing the nightmare to Chevalier. Even now, Mother's words are clear in my mind. I could not forget them even if I wanted to. Chevalier looks thoughtful.
The dreams you remember are usually the ones fueled by the Tenebrarum. Perhaps this is somehow related to Cinna. The dreams have been worse since he came to Angielle, yes?
I nod. I do not know how he would be related to the Tenebrarum, but...
Well, we can ask him today when we see him at the Marchen. Oh, and Lucette.
He plops himself down on the bed, wraps an arm around my waist, and presses a kiss to my forehead.
I hope you didn't take your mother's words to heart. From what you tell me, the mother you knew loved you in her own way. I don't think she would have ever wanted to see you suffer.
I know.
Are you sure you're okay? Lucette? You...
Before he can say anything else, I press my lips to his mouth. The kiss is my only answer. When I pull away, Chevalier is grinning at me.
I'll take that as a yes.
He wiggles his eyebrows at me, and I respond by jabbing him in the shoulder. Thanks, I needed that. Shall we get breakfast? When Chevalier first came to the palace and I invited him to breakfast, he was extremely nervous about sharing a meal with my family. I had to tell him multiple times that the king insisted he join us not because he was to become the royal physician, but because he was becoming part of the family. Now, the question always brings a smile to Chevalier's face. Well, that's good. Yes! Alright. First instance of this pose in his route. I'm happy. He flashes that broad, sparkling smile at me now as he offers me his arm.
Breakfast would be nice, yes.
We head for the dining hall. Good morning, family. The hall is lively, as always, this morning, though for an entirely different reason than usual.
You're telling me you ran after the messenger because you had an important letter to send to Viorica?
It was a very important invite for a luncheon. Normally, it is Chevalier who sparks conversation on mornings like these. He and Father get along very well and usually discuss recent affairs and politics. I know he was very impressed at the end of his route. He's like, he's a doctor? Oh, how interesting. This morning, however, Father and Ophelia are at a meeting, and it is just Rod, Emmeline, Chevalier, and I here. Chevalier has been quietly listening to the conversation this whole time. He flips between being loquacious and quiet at the drop of a coin. Loquacious. I don't think I've ever seen that word before. Sometimes it feels as if he has two personalities. But I know the truth. He just likes to eavesdrop. I turn my attention away from my finished plate to look at Emmeline and Rod. They have been discussing letters the whole morning. Emmeline usually sends letters to Viorica and Anise. Chevalier, unsurprisingly, is the one that brought Emmeline and Anise together. Interesting. Actually, those two would get along very well. Rod sends the majority of his letters to Brigantia. He has been considering going there to study foreign dance as a part of some exchange program. Good on you, man. Claude and his younger brother, Lance, were the ones to suggest the idea when last they visited Angielle. Okay, so that happens again in this. Claude was particularly interested, saying that because Angielle hosted Brigantian royalties so often, they would be honored to host us as well. Claude proposed a trade-off. He insisted that if the Brigantian royal family took Rod in, he would force us to take his brother Lance off his hands. I sniff a scandal. Sometimes I wonder about the relationship they have. No, we found out plenty about that in the last route. We're moving on. We know all about that sordid affair.
The messenger from this morning is delivering letters over the border. Those letters were for Brigantia.
Yeah, because the letter's not for Viorica, it's for Lance. Emmeline looks at him, startled. When he raises an eyebrow, she smiles sheepishly. Really? I had no idea. If she was sending anyone in Brigantia a letter, it is probably Lance. The two of them get along very well. Lucette knows what's up.
I'm certain the messenger would deliver messages to the post office before making the trip over the border.
He smiles at Emmeline. Nice cover.
Your letters are in good hands, Princess Emmeline.
Emmeline turns her grateful smile on Chevalier before pausing, curiosity lighting her eyes. What about your letter, Chevalier? He was up so late writing them that he fell asleep with a pen in his hand. I give him a pointed look. As usual. Chevalier smiles weakly.
These ones were important, I swear.
He clears his throat, his expression melting into something more somber.
I've been writing letters to the housing official to finalize a contract.
Right, his deal with Anise. He is in the process of giving her the deed to his old clinic. Wow. Very cool. I hope it's not too complicated.
It's not. Just time-consuming.
Just make sure it doesn't stop you from sleeping. Chevalier laughs, eyes glittering with mirth.
As you command, my sweet princess.
After breakfast, Chevalier and I head to the Marchand, where we are to meet with Anise and Cinna, respectively. I think Rod doesn't buy the whole letter shenanigans.
What a brilliant day! The sun is shining, the town is full of laughter, and I have...
my lovely princess at my side, or something like... He always used to say this whenever we went into town. Yeah, here we go. My sweet Lucette here to accompany me.
Wrong. I was going to say, I have my lovely queen here to accompany me.
That's the same thing.
I beg to differ. Queen is a far more regal title.
But I'm not even queen yet.
You're already one in spirit.
I cannot help my smile as I turn my attention to the scenery. The town square is bustling with activity when we arrive despite the cold weather. Though it is sunny, a chill wind brushes my skin and rumples my dress. It's so cold. I do not realize I am huddled close to Chevalier until he loops an arm around my waist and pulls me to his side. As always, I am amazed at how comfortably I fit.
It's at times like these that I feel I should buy a new scarf.
He grins.
I could get you one too. Better yet, we could buy matching scarves.
I would wear a paper bag over my head before matching with you.
You're so radiant you could make anything a fashion statement, princess, even a paper bag. It would be a shame not to gaze upon your beautiful features, though.
His voice fades as he spots a nearby stall. Fabrics are draped across the makeshift shelves and tacked onto boards. Scarves are included in the assortment.
Ah, look there! How convenient!
The last time I arrived early at the Marchand for a meeting with Cinna, he was not there. He was partaking in one of his silly hobbies. I suppose it would not hurt to keep him waiting. We can spare a few minutes.
Onwards, then!
We have just arrived at the stall when I pause, noticing two ladies standing not too far away. I can tell by the looks they throw in our direction that they are speaking about us. I move closer to the edge of the stall while Chevalier holds up a few scarves. He and the stall owner did not even notice me. Don't understand what you could have seen in him.
Aye, unless you took pity on him?
The Ice Princess taking pity on some poor doctor. The two women giggle.
Not only is he much older than her, but he's not even handsome, is he?
And not very competent, last I heard. If I were him, I'd be ashamed to be seen as the princess's consort. Dang. What's wrong with you?
Lucette?
I startle when Chevalier puts a hand on my shoulder.
Is something wrong?
His eyes flicker briefly to the women. He is smiling, but it is a half-hearted smile. How long has this been going on for? He squeezes my shoulder.
Don't worry about them, Lucette.
I can still hear the ladies tittering behind me. They are being extraordinarily rude. They really are. But I remember from Rumpel's Root that he was a very unconfrontational person. He's very much a peacemaker. He's like, don't get into a fight if you can avoid it. You know what? What they say doesn't matter. Just leave them alone. But Chev is right. They are a waste of my time. I turn toward Chevalier, who looks relieved. He immediately changes the subject, picking up a fuchsia pink scarf and holding it up for me to see. No. Oh god, no. Not with my hair color.
What do you think of this one?
For you? It looks like something Claude would wear. Now that I could see.
No, for you, my lovely princess.
He raises the scarf higher, glasses glinting.
You're always in blue, but I think pink would really bring out the color of your eyes.
Well... maybe? Well, would bring out the color of her eyes. Blue suits her. Pink is more Emmeline's color.
Oh? I think it would look nice on you.
It's ugly.
As always, your honesty is a treasure.
You show me things like that just because you enjoy it when I insult them, don't you?
Of course. Your scowl is radiant.
I roll my eyes as Chevalier turns back to the stall. We ought to head to the Marchand now. We can always return later. Chevalier nods his assent before following after me. You too.
We have arrived!
Chevalier strolls into the Marchand with his usual enthusiasm.
Good morning, Lady Delora. Waltz the Big.
Delora and Waltz, who were in the middle of a conversation, turned to face us. Well, well, look what the cat dragged in.
Oh. Good morning, you two.
Chevalier has called him Waltz the Big so many times he no longer bothers reacting to it. I mean, I gotta appreciate the dedication. He's been doing it for 2 years. Let me guess, Lucette, you're here to speak with Cinna, and Chevalier, you're here for Anise?
On point as always. Do you know where I might find her?
Waltz gestures with a thumb at the reception room. Apparently, Anise has been in there for the last few hours sorting through papers. You sure stuck her with a lot of work, Chevalier.
Have I? I've been trying to alleviate some of the stress by doing most of the paperwork myself, but...
I jest.
Lady Delora...
You. A voice comes from the reception room doorway. The voice belongs to an irritated boy I have met only a handful of times since he arrived in Angielle. Cinna, Parfait's cousin, the newly dubbed Lucis Bearer. And so it starts.
Could you be any louder, old man?
It really stings, because me and Chevalier were the same age when I played the original Cinderella, and it's only been 2 years for him, but it's been 4 for me, so now I'm even older. Chevalier is completely unfazed. He grins brightly as Cinna enters the room.
What an honor it is to see you again, tiny lord.
Oh yes, more tiny lords.
No rebuttals today, Cinnamon?
You are unbearable.
Ah, so you are in the mood for banter.
I'm more in the mood to smash a plate over your head.
Such violence!
Chevalier turns to look at me with a glimmering smile.
What say you, Lucette?
What?
Don't you have anything to contribute to the conversation?
I think we should break it up. As much as I like to tease Cinna, I don't think me and him are at that part of our relationship yet. So you go and hang out with Anise. Me and Cinna gotta chat. Chevalier, do not patronize him. And Cinna, you know Chevalier's heart is made of glass. You'll break it if you insult him too much. Chevalier releases a dramatic sigh.
Oh, I'm afraid my princess speaks the truth.
Dolores snorts and quirks an eyebrow. Does she now?
You two really do have a strange relationship, don't you?
Yeah, but it kind of works.
Strange? I think the word you're searching for is honest.
As always, these comments do not faze Chevalier, but... My eyes fall on Cinna, who is smirking. I can tell from the look on Chevalier's face that he meant for this to happen. Good job, Boo.
You're a soft heart for sure.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Think of it what you will, old man.
Manna, Cinnamon! Cinna cocks an eyebrow at Delora. As always, he looks unimpressed. He turns to face me.
I'm assuming you came to see me.
That is correct.
And the old man?
I'm here to see Anise. Since the two of you have a meeting, I'll go ahead and excuse myself.
He leans forward to plant a kiss on my forehead.
I'll be in the other room if you need me, my sweet Lucette.
Thanks, Boo. He shows himself out of the room with a genteel bow.
So, what do you need from me, Princess Lucette?
I get straight to the point, describing my nightmares and my hypothesis that the crystalline are unbalanced. Cinna scoffs and crosses his arms.
Huh. With all due respect, Your Highness, your nightmares don't prove anything. What evidence is there that your nightmares are being caused by an imbalance in the crystallum? If anything, shouldn't you be more critical of yourself?
Excuse me? Cinnamon!
It could be that the weight of the crystalline is overwhelming you, perhaps. Or maybe...
You are a failure as a witch.
I am so wrapped up in my thoughts, I miss the rest of Cinna's words. What Lucette said might be valid, actually. You've just started taking over Parfait's responsibilities, Cinna. The balance was already skewed before you arrived. It'll take a while to restore it to the way it was before the war.
I'm doing my job just fine, thanks.
Waltz looks between Cinna and Delora, eyebrows scrunched.
Is there any way to measure the balance?
Usually the imbalance reveals itself physically, but...
So far as I can see, there are no disturbances in Angielle.
What would those disturbances even look like on Cinna's side?
I'll keep my eyes open for anything that feels off.
Likewise. Let's hold off on forming any conclusions until we know more about the situation. Let us know if the problem persists, Princess. Fine. It feels as if everyone lets out a collective sigh of relief when I let the subject drop. Alright, I'll just keep having nightmares about Mother, I guess. Don't mind me over here. But I can't just be imagining all of this, right? Our conversation turns to more practical things after that. Waltz and Delora bring me up to speed with recent events. 2 years ago, the tavern was open to the public. As far as I am aware, Waltz uses the space to teach young witches magic. Delora also uses the tavern as a base of operations for the Angielle witches. Anise, who was working here until recently, is soon to be leaving. Waltz is just telling me about her plans for the future when the reception door opens and Chevalier enters with Anise in tow.
I heard you talking about Anise and brought her immediately.
Anise looks particularly small standing in Chevalier's shadow. Her smile is soft, shy. Though the passing years have given her greater confidence, she is still remarkably unchanged from the Anise I met years ago. She is still kind-hearted and a good listener, and still very good with herbs and food. Hello, Anise.
Good afternoon, Your Highness.
We were just talking about you, Anise. As Chevalier seemed to hear. Are you sure you weren't eavesdropping? Of course not! I just have very good ears.
I waste no time in asking Anise about the details of the move. It was Chevalier who proposed the idea. He insisted that Anise, who had always dreamed of working full-time as an herbalist, could make her dream come true if she had the space to sell her herbs and ointments. Chevalier offered her his old clinic space last month. They had been working on the documentation this month. And, as it turns out...
We've just finished the last of the paperwork.
And there you have it! Soon Lady Anise will be the wonderful new owner of the clinic down the street. She'll become a renowned herbalist and transform the place into a miraculous and humble sanctuary for all those in need. I have no doubt she will be loved by all of her patients.
I don't think I'll be anywhere near as renowned as you are, Chevalier.
The two laugh and smile, but I note the way Chevalier's smile slips as he looks at Anise. It is only for a few moments, but he looks... sad. Oh no. There have been so many changes this last month. Cinna moving into the tavern, my recent nightmares, an increase in my palace duties, Chevalier giving up the clinic to Anise. Chevalier has only recently taken up my father's offer to become the palace's official physician, and yet... it seems wrong somehow.
Lucette?
Chevalier takes my hand and rubs a thumb across my palm. My heart eases when he flashes me a bright smile. I push away my anxiety and turn back to the conversation. No, I must be imagining things. Everything is fine. Right? Ominous.